not that long.
Welcome everybody. Our first ever show, the Monday Morning Coach, with your Monday Morning Coach over there, Mr. King James Stallcup, and on this show, everyone's coach on here. So it's pretty awesome. We got David Engelhart already jumping in. Awesome. Thanks for jumping in, brother. We got Coach David in the house, and and happy Labor Day to you, David. We're just gonna be talking football. Just kind of hang out. It's a little bit of a hangout. Just kind of talk football. I have a really apology, James. When I put the description up for the event, I don't know how somehow it said something about Dallas Cowboy jokes, and I didn't mean for it to be like that. It somehow went in there. So I want to say I didn't mean to do that. It's kind of part of using the AI. I don't know, somehow it must have known that I was doing some cowboy jokes or something, and I was like, no, I don't have any cowboy jokes, but people, if they have any, it's welcomed. We're okay with any kind of jokes busting on anybody's teams. I'm sure I might get some Bronco ones, but I was gonna tell you this. So I usually go through a bunch of different YouTube channels, try to promote them, share them to our page. So we have a page on Facebook called the Monday Morning Coach page. So you can go and follow some of the YouTube guys that we're partners with. Not really partners, but just that we support. And this week, one of the guys that was up there was a channel called The Goat House. And he went over the top 5 rankings, starting with like the Chiefs at number 1. And I could see the Chefs being up there. Like, I see they deserve to be number 1 power rankings. You got San Fran number 2, Lions at number 3. A lot of people are predicting the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year. Then he has the Packers at number 4 and the Texans at number 5. So that's pretty good rankings. And there's some people predicting the Packers to win the Super Bowl too. So that's going to be interesting to see how that ends up at the end of the year.
Well, I'm looking forward to kicking off the NFL. I really enjoyed watching college football this week, and man, I tell you, there are some teams that had the high ranking that just didn't look that good this week. I was like, I was watching Oregon. Oregon didn't look like, were the number 3 team, and they didn't look like a number 3. I mean, they were playing Idaho, and they were squeaking it out at the end.
Right.
Next week we got Texas and Michigan. Michigan did not look that good against Fresno, in my opinion, and I think they're going to have hell with Texas, boy. I mean, Texas looked like, man, they look good. What's so amazing about that team, boy? They're freaking fast. Man, I was watching the game. I was like, God dang, man, them guys are freaking moving, and their receiving core is unbelievable. I mean, and then just to sort of show we got the backups in there, we went ahead and threw Arch Manning in there, and he kicked ass.
Yeah, you accidentally called me, and like that was the first thing I said. Was like, oh, I had to throw in your backup just to run up the score, huh? But, that's pretty funny.
They look pretty. Of all the teams for the first week, they probably were the best looking one. Then I think probably Ohio State. If Clemson would have had any type of offense, I think Georgia had their hands full, because that game was close, till about midway through the third, and I think the defense was just wore out. And we were, Dad and I were actually watching the game. He was like, man, Georgia don't look that great this year. I said, well, they're good. I said, but Clemson just has a bad offense, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was definitely battle of the defenses at that first half. I mean, to have a scoreless first half,
oh
that
yeah.
was that was a real,
Now,
you
how
know,
about those
good thing.
Canes, boy? They whooped Florida's ass.
Oh yeah,
I I was shocked at that game. I really thought Florida might be a little better this year, and apparently that didn't end up being true. And you know, and M watched them play Notre Dame. A and M's offense is horrible. I mean, it really was. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But I was flipping back and forth between games, catching a little here, catching a little there, and there was for the first week, there was some good games. Uh,
what
LSU last night,
yeah,
terrible. I mean, it was funny because we have relatives in town and they're actually live in New Orleans,
okay.
and they're LSU fans too. Plus, they're Texas fans. But we were watching the game and they kicked that field goal, and I was there the whole time. I said they better get a touchdown because I didn't feel their defense was doing good enough to stop USC, and USC went right down there. And then as soon as they made that one catch, I said, "Hell, they're in field goal range. There, I mean, that's a chip shot." And then he just hit through the line and broke through for the touchdown. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" So Brian Kelly, he may be on the hot seat, brother. I was like, "Damn." So I
Right.
don't know how much football did you watch this weekend.
It was probably not as much as you. I did watch that Florida State, what was it, Georgia Tech game,
Georgia
and that
Tech.
was really good. That's actually gonna be. We're gonna break these up into features at some point, but that's actually gonna be my feature for the overtime game of the week, the final countdown, because they went all the way down to the wire, kicked the field goal, and won it. So that was a
Well, they're
pretty.
playing Boston College and not Florida State is,
Yes,
and
sir.
I just don't think Florida State's that good this year. I mean,
Yeah, and big shout out to Goose, the Goose Sports Channel. So you can go over there and subscribe. We're sharing that game over to our Facebook page right now. So
oh, okay, all
you
right.
can go over there and hit that link, and we're sharing that game. And Goose is a big LSU fan, so he was either really happy or really pissed off. So
He's probably
I,
pissed off right now.
yeah.
I was watching a podcast a guy does. He's on Fox. It started off and he just had his head bowed like his, and he's going. He didn't even say nothing. Like the first minute, he just kept doing this. I was like, "It's funny as hell."
Yeah, and so we have a lot of different sports channels that jump in here, and like I say, we have Rising Rhinos, one of our buddies, and he's a fellow. I think he's out of Castle Rock, but he's pretty close to Denver. He's a Colorado guy, but his team is the Colts. So look for the Colts. I mean, I think they had the power ranking the Colts at like 27 or something. So
Yeah.
they're not too far down there. I think they had the Broncos ranked at 29th, which I'm gonna expect that to rise this year. Guess who they had ranked at last place in the whole NFL?
Wasn't Cowboys.
No, no.
Last place. I guess I think about this for a second. Um, Probably thinking about the teams that are not that good. Um, they're actually decent. Was it Jacksonville?
Good guess. It was actually the Patriots
The
are
Patriots. Okay.
ranked dead last, which I think that was a good call.
Yeah, we need to
Uh,
take uh, let everybody know how we're going to do this, but um, this is just our first podcast, just to get everything going. Next week, we're going to set up. We need to take and we need to decide the big college game next week. Of course, kicks off College Game Day at 11 o'clock. It's going to be Texas and Michigan. So we want to be able. We're going to make the podcast a lot of fun. So of course, I'm a Texas fan, so I'll be on there. But we need to look and get a Michigan fan on here so we can discuss that next week. And I think your brother is, isn't he?
Yeah, I'll see. I mean, I don't know that he could be like really objective. Like he might get his feelings hurt a little bit, especially if Texas wins. But I don't know. I'll have to ask him. You know, he might be down. You know, it's a lot of the sports fans, like when they're really diehard, it's hard for them to, you know, like look at, like especially if, like Michigan wins. I don't know. I wouldn't want you to, you know, be
No,
get
they
mad.
win.
But
They win. I mean,
no,
that's
I know.
part of the game.
I'm just joking. I bust your balls a lot, but it's pretty funny. We have good time doing this, and like I say, anytime you're in the different sports stuff, you know, you get a lot of people's feelings up in there, you know. But we really appreciate everybody checking out our first show ever. It's pretty awesome. Like I enjoy talking sports, and I enjoy football. Like I say, I expect Bo Nix to have a really good season. You know, like I say, he's fit in really well with the team. He's got a lot of guys that are a lot of wide receiver talent around him, and like I said, he's shown that he could move that pocket and buy himself time. I think that's going to be key. You know, but we'll see. You know, like I say, the biggest problem we've had with Broncos quarterbacks is them staying healthy. But it looks like we're stacking some pretty good, you know, even backups and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I expect them to at least go 500 this season. You know, so that's kind of my early prediction for the Broncos. And like I say, if we go 500, I think that's a good season for us. You know, but like I say, it's just gonna be one of those things. And don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We just had a like come in. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. And like I say, we've been doing a little bit of some YouTube stuff for a couple years now, so we're starting to get a little bit better at it. I didn't get all my music to James in time, so I've been working on in the studio recording some intro stuff and different stuff. I like to do my own segment called the Final Countdown, and then actually I've been working really hard to get like royalty free stuff that's like not going to get dinged by copyright. So it looks like we got Gypsy jumping in.
Well, I got a question for next week. We got, you know, we know what we're going to do for college game of the week next week.
Gypsy,
So
is he there?
there's two games next week. I think will be good games for NFL. You got the Ravens and Chiefs, and you got the Packers and Eagles. I think those are two good games. If we can get somebody that likes those teams to come on and talk about their teams and stuff next week and how they played and all that, that'd be awesome. But
I'll talk to George. You might be able to get George in here, like eating his cereal, and talk about the Packers. I know George.
he's always
is a
eating his
Packers
damn cereal. Isn't he?
I know.
But
I don't know what Gypsy's doing. His mic's kind of loud. He's got something going
I
on.
think that would be pretty good. One of those two games is we'll do those as the featured games next week.
Okay.
We'll put out a filler.
So
for people.
as a recap, we're doing Packers Eagles, and then the college matchup we're gonna do is Hook'em Horns and Michigan Wolverines, right?
Sure. I think that'd be good. And then we, you know, of course, we'll talk about all the other games. You know, like I was just checking just now, Boston College is already up 7-0 on Florida State
Oh wow.
in the second quarter.
Okay.
So, but
Yeah, the one game that I know that you watched that I was kind of interested in. I think we watched it. We were watching it right after we got off. We were actually in competition with them on Thursday. Was that CU and South Dakota or North Dakota State? Was it North Dakota State? I think. And like I say, you know, Coach Prime was really trying to hold back his anger. I really don't blame him. I mean, especially I don't know if you saw that late hit from his son. That was a little bit of a bonehead play, you know, and said he was holding back anger. I could kind of see why. I mean, what was your thoughts on that? Like it almost seemed like they like maybe really close to letting him come back and win that game.
It could have happened. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the interesting things watching all the games this week. I know it takes, some of them are working out kinks and, you know, doing this, but, you're taking top rated teams and they're playing a lot lower rated teams and they were struggling.
Right.
You know, that was one of the things that sort of caught me off guard. I'll tell you a team that looked good to me. And I just caught it on one of the other channels I was catching parts of. But Utah looks like a damn good team this year to me.
True.
I
Yeah.
mean, I, I think Utah's going to win the Big 12 they just went over into. And
Right.
but then again, caught a little bit of the Kansas game. They looked really good. Um, uh, I'm sort of interested to see how Penn State does this year.
True.
James Franklin's a coach there, and I think he's a good coach myself. I mean, he was actually up for the job at Texas too, I think, before
Okay.
Sarkisian took the job. But I think that'll be pretty interesting to watch. Um,
Nice.
you know, uh, Kansas State kicked ass. I'll tell you another team that looked, you know, they have came up is Missouri. Missouri looked
True.
pretty good. Yeah, I mean, what they win 76, I think, to nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
of
They
course
put some
they
points on the board.
they didn't play anybody. But the thing is, they took care of business. You know what I mean? That was the
Yep.
main thing. Mississippi, they looked
Yeah.
good. Mississippi,
Are you talking
I
Mississippi State?
I think it. No, Mississippi,
Okay.
Mississippi. They who's their coach there? God dang, Lane Kiffin.
There you
Uh,
go.
Lane Kiffin. Uh, if and this is why I want to have this podcast every week because there's always something going on. You got transfer portal now, all of that going on and everything. It's like it's nonstop now, because the
True.
transfer portal. But uh, they they ended up getting the guy from Texas. See, was it 3 years ago? Texas A&M had the number one recruiting class, and they had people commit that hadn't even visited yet. And that was
Right.
right at the start of NIL. So basically, in my opinion, they were paying players. A lot of people think that, which is fine because that's what NIL is now. And uh, they didn't do good, and there was a big recruit at A&M that committed during that. Walter Nolan. He's a defensive tackle. Well, he went into the portal and he went to Mississippi, and Mississippi got a whole bunch of other portal targets too. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is going to make Mississippi this year. I think Mississippi's going to be hell on wheels in my opinion. And
Right.
I think you're going to have. I think there's 5 teams in the SEC that I wouldn't be surprised if those 5 teams are not in the playoffs. I think you're when we get there, as we get further along in the season, we're going to really start seeing. But I would not be surprised to see Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Alabama look really good too. Missouri and Mississippi. I think
Right.
those 5 teams there, those are good teams. And I'm more curious. I want to see who makes it to the SEC championship game. I think that's going to be tough. And then the team that surprised me, at the start of the season, I was actually going to LSU in there. But LSU lost to USC, so LSU's not as good as I thought they were. But You take the
Yeah,
Big
I mean,
Ten.
actually, USC like they actually didn't play that good either. I mean, their offense, like, I mean, I think LSU only put up 20 points on them, but it was still like their offense just really wasn't as productive as like you'd think for one of the like top 10 teams.
Yeah, it was 27-20 USC, and it was 20-20 right at the end of the game before they got it in the end zone with what 5 seconds left or whatever it was. And
Right.
that's the game. But uh, it makes me wonder now how good USC is because in my thought process, start season, of course, you had Ohio State. I think you got Penn State. I think you got Michigan. And now I'm thinking, is USC a viable option as one of the top four teams in the Big Ten this year? And then when I look
Well, and
at
that's where you go into some of these like defenses too, because like if you don't know if the defense is playing good, like I really thought Clemson's defense played really good first
they
half.
did,
I mean, they shut them down, and they weren't doing anything. But then once Georgia started getting their offense opening up, I mean, it was over. They
I'll
couldn't
tell you
handle
what
it.
my thought process on it, and I think this is Georgia, Texas, and Alabama specifically. I'm talking about here. I think you got teams that can hang for about a half, and then I think they have so much talent on even second string and third string. They got people rotating in that's fresh the whole time, and I think that's what beats these other teams down because they don't have all them extra players to be rotating like that. And that's one of the
Sure.
things, if you look at the, um, uh, say, the Texas game, for instance, I think they played 13 or 15 something true freshmen yesterday, and there wasn't a let off. And that doesn't include their second string that was in there.
Yeah.
I think they played 70 something players and they all
Wow.
played quite a bit of significant time. And I think you're playing if you got a team like that, you're getting all these guys this experience and stuff. All you're doing is building that depth, building it, building, and you're getting
Well,
them
yeah.
guys out there to spell them. Well, you're bringing guys in constantly, freshly rotating in there. It wears those other teams down, and you could tell at the end of the game just watching uh, Texas play Colorado State. Colorado State they look tired. And,
Yeah.
they have that receiver, Horton. Horton's he's going to be an NFL draft pick. And they just completely shut him down like it was nothing. And,
Yeah.
and the reason they were because they got talent out there. They kept rotating back different people on him, hitting him and stuff. And that makes the difference. It really takes a drain on the team. Well, I think Georgia did the same thing to Clemson. I think
Yeah, and
that depth.
I did like the defensive schemes from Clemson. I did like the defensive schemes from CSU. I thought they threw some changed up blitz, but then anytime they come back on offense, it was just even more of the same with Texas just throwing the kitchen sink at them, and they didn't have a choice. There was blitzes coming from all different directions, and he was constantly getting people in space, constantly getting sacked, and when you're pressured that much as a quarterback, you don't have time to set up. You don't have time to get accurate throws, and you could tell not necessarily just them being tired, but they were just like frustrated by no matter what he tried to do. He had somebody in his face. He was getting passes blocked, tipped, a lot of different defensive schemes that I really liked on both sides of the ball. And like
Well,
I say, I'd say that first half, I think they held Texas to 7 points, and or maybe even just 10. But like I say, it was a really good first half defensively for CSU. But then once Texas just started pouring on the offense, it was over. I mean, and like I say, they even had to bring in Arch Manning to run up the score to make it 38. But like I say, it was altogether what I like too about both games in general with the Longhorns and with uh, Clemson, Georgia was just their defensive schemes. I really liked it. They were throwing all kinds of blitzes I've never seen before. Like they were throwing linebacker blitzes and just stuff like that. That just was really interesting. I've never seen any teams do that before. It's kind
Yeah.
of cool.
Well, when I was watching it, one of the things that was interesting, Colorado State is a throwing team. That they run that spread, they throw the ball constantly. They didn't do any of that, and they actually had a 100-yard rusher. They just finally realized we can't throw on this team, so they tried to run it. And they had, two or three good runs, but other than that, they didn't do anything. I mean, it was shut down
Yeah,
completely. And
yeah, and once you get like turn one dimensional like that, you'll see all through the year. That's gonna be like what I'm gonna be critical of a lot of teams is if they become one dimensional. That happens with the Broncos a lot. If we can't run the ball, we just start three and out, tossing it every down, and if we get into that one dimensional, I don't see us being as successful as we could be. But like I say, I think kind of an optimistic approach for all our teams, especially the Cowboys. I mean, like I say, the Cowboys they have a really good defense. Like I was really impressed. Like their defense is stacked this year.
yeah,
Two pretty top quarterbacks.
I think they're going to be pretty decent, But as I looked at the conferences for college this week, since that's what was on TV, we talked about the Big 12, but when I looked at the ACC, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think the conference runs through Miami. I don't think it's
Yeah.
running. I mean, because for so long, where did it run through? It's Clemson, Florida State, one of those. And this year, I think Miami. I mean, after what they did to Florida, I was like, God dang, man, they look freaking good. And I think that's good. I'd be shocked from the first week after watching that if Miami isn't going to be the conference champion. But when I get over and I look at the SEC, shit, I'm unsure, man. I'll be honest, I'm
Yeah.
unsure because I mean, you got five good teams. Any one of them could win that conference. And then you
True.
go to the Big Ten. I think it's Ohio State. I think this
Oh
year
yeah.
Ryan Day's going to beat Michigan. I don't think Michigan didn't look that good to me at all. I mean, but they lost a lot of players to the draft.
Yeah.
I mean they
True.
still got great defensive tackles. They got two good cornerbacks and stuff. But
True.
uh, I think next week. I mean, I watched them. I don't think they're ready for the speed that they're about to see from the Texas team. And then
You know who I'm interested to see how they do is Nebraska. Nebraska seems to be taking a little bit of a turn for the better. Like they haven't been that great of a team, but they've actually put some players a little bit stronger O line. They should be able to run the ball a little bit better. So we'll see. I kind of had my eye on Nebraska a little bit. Um,
well, their quarterback they got last year, he was the number one quarterback in the country. That's Dominic Raiola. And
right.
it's funny because he used to, 2 years ago, 3 years or something like that, he was the quarterback here in just outside Fort Worth in Burleson. And then he moved, and then he moved again, you know, and he went to Nebraska. They really pushed hard for him and everything, and it showed some of his passing ability and stuff in the last game. And I think he's going to be a really, really good quarterback. But we'll see how he duels against uh, what's his Shadur or however they say his name, Shadur Sanders. I think I'm looking forward to seeing how well Colorado does against Nebraska because last week, I think they didn't play a team that was as good as I think Nebraska's a better team than them.
Oh,
So we'll
I
see.
100% agree with that. But the thing that you have to look at, some of the numbers, I don't think Shadura Sanders really got. Like those two interceptions, like they like one of them was just a total fluke going off that guy's leg. Like that was the most
Yeah,
amazing interception I've ever seen in my life. Like it's like that shouldn't go against him. Like that was kind of a bad one. But otherwise, I thought he showed poise in the pocket. I thought he really he had his eyes downfield and he caught some really good looks on some receivers coming across the middle wide open, and there was a few things that I really liked what he did. But then I kind of saw Coach Prime's I saw his anger where there was a lot of mistakes that shouldn't have been made. There was a lot of costly penalties,
sure.
like false starts at wrong times, and there was like stupid plays, like stupid personal foul penalties that happened at wrong times, and stuff like that can make a big difference. I think if Colorado cleans that up, I think they should do good against Nebraska. But I agree with you. I could see Nebraska coming on top if they make all those mistakes like they did
Oh, sure.
last week.
Who
Last
you,
game.
how do you think they're looking in the Big Ten? Which teams you think are?
Uh, well, it's hard to say because I haven't really like studied that conference much, and to see what all teams they're going up against. But typically, they're up against some pretty tough teams like Wisconsin, and like there's some powerhouse teams. Like Wisconsin's always kind of like a sleeper to me. Like they just don't seem like they're gonna have that great of a team, and then they just power through and they take down some really good teams. Towards the stretch. I
Yeah,
know they're having a 12 team playoff this year, and so that's where I kind of need to like do some research because it's kind of new to me and I don't really understand it, because I guess what they're saying is that they're not gonna have like one representative from each conference. It's just gonna be like a 12 team playoff. So
yeah. Well, they'll pick the 12 best teams, and then you'll have one,
right,
two, four that get a bye, and then it works its way. I'm excited watching this year, but as
yeah,
I was watching the Big Ten, catching some of them this week, if I was going to have to rank them, it's pretty tough because I think Ohio State is clearly going to be the number one in that conference.
true,
And then, before the season started, Oregon has moved from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten now, so a lot of people liked Oregon. And then I think you got Michigan, Penn State, and now you got to look at USC. Do we still feel like, after the first week, Oregon's the second best team? I'm not so sure. I sort of, all of them, Penn State looked the best, you know.
yeah,
So it's going to be
yeah,
interesting watching how they go there. But I think you're going to see probably between the Big Ten and the SEC, you're probably going to see 3 to 4, maybe even 5 uh, from those conferences. Because I think you could easily see from the SEC, from what I saw this week. I mean, you could have Texas, Georgia, Alabama, uh, Mississippi, and Mizzou in there. That's 5 teams from one conference. I mean,
yeah.
you
And
are
I mean,
almost halfway there. So now you
you
look
always
at the
have
Big Ten.
you always have those sleeper teams like Purdue and Baylor, and like just teams that just could come out of nowhere, and that's why I say I haven't really like studied too much about who could have that power ranking that could just come out of nowhere. Like teams like Northwestern, stuff like that where you're just like never seen them coming.
Sure.
So I really haven't done a lot of research college football wise this season, but like I say, I would like to see the Buffs have a winning season. Like I say, I think it's gonna be tough. They got a lot of things to clean up, obviously, but like I say, from a standpoint of being a solid team, I thought that if they clean that up, they easily wipe the floor. I mean, it should have been probably like 31-0. If they clean up some of those mistakes, like they gave them like costly first downs. There was one drive where we stopped them, and then we had a personal foul, and it was just stupid mistakes.
Sure.
So
Looking at it
um,
right now, Boston College is up 14-0
oh wow,
against Florida State. Florida State, I
wow.
told you, they did not look good that first. And I mean, that who's their coach? Is
Um,
is
I
Napier
can't.
the coach? Or is he one at Florida? I can't remember who their coach is.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I should know it. I guarantee Trader's gonna give me a hard time because he's a big Knowles fan, and like I say, that I don't think that they deserve to lose that game against Georgia Tech, but like I say, it was just that whole thing where it's any given football day.
That's right.
You let them stay hang in the game because I actually thought that Florida State actually had a really good offensive attack, and they really like. Dude, they did some really cool moves. Like I don't know if you saw that, but they did. They came out the first extra point. They came out swinging gate, and they got it
Yeah.
for the 2 point conversion. Stuff like that. So like that's kind of cool to see them do that. But like I say, I'm always that's the one reason I love college so much is because they do more trick plays. And a lot of the trick plays like the fumble rooski and
Hmm.
the Statue of Liberty and like all those different trick plays, they all came from college. They don't do too many of those trick plays in pros. So I'll
I'll
be
tell you one I remember a while back, and I'll never forget it. It was right at the end of the game. Oklahoma was beating Boise State, and Boise State, the receiver, went down. He went down probably about 15, 20 yards, and he come in, he stopped, did a curl post right there, caught the ball, and the other receiver was coming across the field. It was perfectly timed. And everybody's going to tackle him, and this receiver is running in front of him. He's got his back to the defenders. He flips the ball, and they're all going that way. He catches it and just takes off and runs for a touchdown. I never
yeah.
forgot. I mean, that was a freaking cool play. And
I'm gonna have to get like I think that's kind of like a hook and ladder kind of style. Uh,
yeah,
but I'm gonna have to do like a trick play segment every week, like my favorite trick play or something, and I could probably even go back. That doesn't have to be this season. I could just go back and pick whatever favorite trick play, my college trick play of
well,
the
one of the things I
week.
want to do in the segment is whoever the team is, I'm gonna because I keep up with recruiting pretty well, and uh, we may, I'll take next week and I'll talk about recruiting of Texas, for instance. The next week
Right.
we can have somebody come on. They can talk recruiting with Alabama. I think Alabama has the number one class right now. Somebody can do Georgia. You can USC, Oklahoma, whoever. Just build them down like Oklahoma just got. I know Texas wanted, but Texas wasn't going to pay what he wanted, and they got Michael Fasusi. He's an offensive left tackle, but Texas like, why are we going to pay for that? Because next year their backup's going to be he'll probably be a first, second round pick in the NFL. He's a bad dude
Right.
because he's sitting now behind Kelvin Banks, and Kelvin Banks is going to be a first round pick next year. He could be the first tackle taken, and then
True.
um, uh, the guy that just started his first year, Cam Williams, he was out of Duncanville. He got co-offensive lineman of the week in the SEC, and it was his
Oh,
first game
nice.
to ever start. You know, but he's a big boy. I mean, like 6'7", 350 or something. He's a big kid. But when you're looking, one of the things I like to do is go through and talk about. who they're recruiting for the upcoming season, and that makes it good because next week we can, whoever's doing Michigan, they can talk. We'll talk about the game, then talk about the recruiting classes. And
Okay.
like I'd be looking at Texas, and I'd say, oh well, they just signed Jonah Williams, or he a verbal to him. It's not signed the dotted line yet, but he's the number
Right.
one safety in the country. He's 6'3", 205. Kid's athletic as hell, and believe this or not, he was he could he some were estimating he could have been a first round pick in the uh, Major League Baseball draft, and
Okay.
he was just at
Wow.
a wood bat tournament, and he had thrown 90, 100 pitches, something like that, and he was still hitting 94. And
Wow.
it gives you an idea of his athleticism. Then they turned around, and the guy that's out of Florida, Jamie French, he's a 5-star receiver. He just committed to Texas. And right before that, they got an offensive lineman. He's like 6'7", 370 or something like that, 380, something like that, Nick
Paul
Brooks.
Bunyan.
And they call it. They were saying, they catch him coming off of the plane when he's going for a visit and stuff, and they said you got all these big offensive linemen. Then there's Nick Brooks. That's how big he was, and
Wow.
he sort of like this guy they got Cam Williams. He was like that. Well, Texas got him into the strength and conditioning program, and guess what? He got his weight down and everything, and now he's like 6'7", 340. But he's so big, and with all that strength, if you put the time in and work and do your nutrition and all the workouts and stuff they do, you're probably going to have a good chance going to the NFL. Well,
Nice.
look at all them years Nebraska putting on, not Nebraska, Alabama putting all them guys in the NFL. It was nothing uncommon to see 3 or 4 guys drafted in the first round, and maybe 1 or 2 in the second. They were
Yeah.
stacking those recruiting classes. Well, you look now, who's stacking all those recruiting classes? Well, I can tell you. You got Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and I'll tell you who else has a great recruiting class right now is Oregon. You know,
Sure.
uh, what's the guys Phil Knight? They're saying, oh, they're using Phil Knight's money. you know, uh, uh, and guy that owns Nike, and they're saying they're getting a lot of good recruits too. So uh,
Nice.
I think it's going to be
Well,
interesting talking recruiting and the games and all that. I'm looking forward to next week more than I am anything.
yeah,
But
and just to give everyone kind of a spoiler, I am actually in the Chatter League fantasy with it's Rising Rhinos League, and my team is Wild Willie. So if you're going up against Wild Willie, I got a pretty good team going this year, and so I'll tell you all the results of like who won in the Chatter League and who's leader and stuff.
hell
But
yeah,
I just kind of wanted to go over some of the top draft picks from the fantasy draft. A lot of people picked up Josh Allen. He had 15 rushing touchdowns last year. That's pretty good. So it seemed like a lot of the popular draft picks for fantasy was NFL players that were like multi-role. They could throw for 300, 400 yards and then get a couple rushing touchdowns. So it seemed like that was like the real big trend this year in fantasy. Like I say, of course, it was Josh Allen and Mahomes were the top quarterbacks for the draft this year. You had Bajan Robinson, wide receiver. You had Isaiah Pacheco, running back. And what they were looking for too, McCaffrey would have probably been a lot bigger of a pickup. I don't think he's healthy. I think he's questionable to start. So I think that's why a lot of people didn't pull the trigger on McCaffrey. But McCaffrey is one of those guys who could get you points coming out of the backfield, rushing out of the backfield, or actually going out as a receiver. So it seemed like a lot of those dual threats were big. And you had Zamir White, running back from the Raiders. He was pretty high up there. Blake Corum was up there pretty high. Keenan Coleman, and I know everyone's been talking about Keenan Coleman, that he should have a pretty breakout year this year. Calvin Ridley, Lad McConkey, and Pat Fryermuth, tied in with Pittsburgh, actually made the radar for some of the guys like that. Just kind of reliability from the tight ends, but I ended up picking up the quarterback from the Rams. I think is Murray. I want to say.
Kyler
I
Murray.
picked up. Yeah, I picked up a few pretty good players. I think I have a Cowboy wide receiver.
CD.
Yep, I got CD Lamb. So, so we'll see. And like I say, I'll have a segment on that, and I'll kind of go over like who the winners and losers from the Chatter League was, and like I say, I'll try to put Rhino on blast as much as possible. Because he loves it, and like I say, it's a lot of fun to have a guy like Rhino, over coming up and hanging out with us and stuff, and so
Well,
it's
one of
pretty
the
cool.
things as we build this channel next year, we're going to do a fantasy league, but the only players you can have are the players of the team that you like. And so it's going to be different from other fantasy. So basically, you're just going to have your team and the players that are on that team, and uh, from there, we'll see how you do for the whole year. And
It's
uh,
probably gonna take us a whole year to get somebody willing to do that. Because I
well, that's what I'm
mean,
saying. We'll get somebody in, and we may, I know they got it at different amounts you can put in to have your team stuff, but we'll have, you know, whoever wins it, you win some good money, and it'd
okay,
be something that we cover every week. How's the fantasy teams doing? Who's in first, the points, and all of that. So it's going to be something that's going to be fun. We're just going to be doing it every week, and uh, or next year when we get there. But
right.
for now, we're getting this channel going, just having fun, just some regular old guys coming in that love football, want to talk football, and
Sure.
you got certain teams you like and everything. Let us know if it's one of the games of the week. Hopefully, that next Monday you're able to come on and talk about your team, especially if they win. You know, the other guy ain't gonna want to be on. And if he
Yeah,
doesn't
even
come on, you can talk all the smack you want.
yeah, and even if you just want to come on, just put together a presentation on top five teams or just whatever you want. Like we're open. We're like we just like hanging out, talking football, and just having fun. And like I say, that's the whole reason that James wanted to put this together. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm like, I almost think that the Broncos are going to have a pretty breakout year from what they're predicted. I mean, like I say, they're set at second to last place. They're set at 29th place in the power rankings to start the year. I can see them going up quite a bit from there. It's gonna be we might have to put together like a winner and loser from like the power rankings and do like a power ranking segment and then just
Well,
kind of
each
see
week
who's like
I will have the standings on there that'll pop up. I've already started developing all that stuff, and I'm even gonna
okay,
have it. I'm only gonna do the four main leagues in college, in my opinion. You're gonna
okay,
have the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC. So we'll show each week. I'll group them down by their divisions and all that, and we'll slowly break it down. And then what I would like to do is, based on what we're seeing each week, have our own little setup of what we're seeing so far, and having the teams put in for the 12 team playoff bracket.
oh like a
And
bracket,
yeah, just a bracket showing where. And what we might do is, when we get ready for the bracket, I'll set up when it gets to the playoffs and for the NFL, uh, we may take and set up to where I'll set up like a Pantheon account or something like that. And uh, if you want to be a part of it, you can come in and just pick the team you think's going to win it all. And say there was $100 in it, and three people picked this team to win, then you'd split it three ways. See what I'm saying? And if you
Right.
were the only one picked that team, you get all of it. So, and we may do like say $20. Nothing expensive. $20 to pick your team. It's a little bracket, and just
Winner
let it
takes the
go
pot.
from there and do it. Where I think it'll be really the most fun is going to be college because it's always unpredictable. But
Yeah.
take NFL one year, you had a wild card. New York Giants, and they probably nobody picked them. And uh, if it's a team and it doesn't get picked, then all the people that entered, that includes us too, uh, I'll put all the names in a like a little basket, and then I'll draw a name, and whoever's name pops out, and I'll show it on screen like that. Uh, they will get all the money, and then I'll just to prove that I didn't cheat, I'll pull each one of them out so everybody can see, and I'll have uh, maybe Dad come in here and draw it. You know what I mean?
There you go.
So
Yeah, and he'd probably shut the lights off too, so that'd be even. He'd make sure it's really
yeah, he's
fair,
good at that, isn't he? Shutting the damn lights off. He's freaking in the office. He comes in. Well, I'm going home. He shuts off the lights. Like you got freaking be kidding me.
You were all yelling too. That was so funny.
Yeah, Joe. He's and he's got hearing aids now. He probably had them down. Couldn't freaking hear me. So I teased him one time. We were somewhere, and he goes, "What'd she say?" And I went, "Okay." He goes, "What?" And the Levi thing starts cracking up. He goes, "He ain't saying anything, is he?" She started laughing. No, he isn't. He goes, "You asshole."
There was at least one of those times he did it on purpose. I know that for sure. It wasn't. There was at least one where he was like, "Oh, you want to say I'm turning the lights off? Man, we'll get you good this time."
He started laughing after that. It was funny because I was coming in here not the office, and he goes, "You got a podcast tonight?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What are y'all covering tonight?" I said, "Football." And he goes, "Football?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're starting a new podcast." And he goes, "Well, that ought to be fun." He goes, "That the code in football is your perfect thing for." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's
Sure.
going to be good." I said, "As we get through the season," I said, "We'll still pick up, once they get the playoffs for Major League Baseball. We'll, talk about some of that if we see it, hockey, basketball." I said, "We'll just cover a little of everything. But the main drive is football, but we have no problem covering other things." And when it comes to
True.
hockey, I'll let Bill speak on that because I don't know hockey that well.
True.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and
hell,
like
I
I
just
say,
learned what offsides was and
yeah,
icing.
yeah. I mean it shows that it's ugly head a lot more in the playoffs when like one of our guys like because I think that happened against the Stars where we went in scored a goal and then they came back replayed it said he's offsides,
Yeah,
but that's where you're like, oh, okay, I know what that is now because we got it went in our favor. But the thing that's so awesome too is I'm gonna try to put it together where I'll send you like some different music and stuff, and I could do some different segments. But I think it would be cool to do like say like you cover college power ranking and maybe I could cover NFL power ranking or something like
okay,
that and kind of switch it off and something like that. And like I say, if anybody has any ideas of something they want us to do or a different way they want us to do it, we're game for that. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I worked pretty hard getting like all the different segments recorded and stuff, and so I'll make sure I get them over to you so you can put together
for
whatever.
sure.
But
If
um,
you're a big fan of a certain team, hell, we encourage you to come on and talk about your team. That's what this is for everybody. It's just not us going to just telling you what we want you to think. you know,
Right?
uh, you like a certain team, come on, talk about them. Just all you have to do is message Bill. All right, doesn't matter which one. And I'll get in touch with Bill, or he'll get in touch with me and go, hey, so and so wanted to come on to talk this house. No problem. I mean, we could have 5 people come on one night, just
Oh
talk
yeah.
about their team.
Yeah,
Um,
screen share, whatever you want.
yeah, I mean,
Uh, it
uh,
was kind of funny because there was a bunch of people on over at Team SOS on Adam's podcast, and they were like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Cowboys fan." I think there was like 2 or 3 of them on there. I was like, "Oh, you can't come on. We can't have that many Cowboys fans in here." But it was pretty funny. I was just
America's
joking
team, baby.
around.
But
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
am
be interesting.
I am a Cowboys fan, but I'm more of a Longhorn fan than I am anything. I mean,
True.
that's just. I mean, my son's name's Austin. And I tell you something. I told her you got a choice, Bevo or Austin. She went with Austin. But
True.
uh, you know, when it comes to the Longhorns, I can speak on it all for a long time because I know all the recruits, everything they're coming in. I pretty much know their height, weight. Ones that didn't commit to us. Like we have one DK Moore. He committed to Oregon. I don't think that recruitment's over. I, this guy, wide receiver, he is one bad dude. I mean, I think he's the number one ranked receiver in the country, and then they've already got, I think, the number 3 and number 4. So I don't think that recruitment's over. I think Tech's going to pony up some money probably to get him in, and if they get him in, they got 3 5-star receivers in one class. I mean, god dang. But if you watched the game yesterday or Saturday, hell, they threw to all the receivers. I mean, it just wasn't one receiver. I mean, the way Sarkisian designs his offense, it's to spread the ball around. I couldn't even tell you whether 4 or 5 at least hitting the running back out of the outfield. He hit the tight end a few times. Then you hit all different receivers. I think there was only one receiver that didn't catch one, and that was DeAndre Moore. So that
Right.
gives you an idea of how prolific his offense is. I mean, think back when he was coaching at Alabama as offensive coordinator, and he had all them receivers. Who did he have? He had Waddle.
True.
Uh, what was the guy? Man, he was really good. They had 3 really good receivers, and hell, they were spreading that ball all around, and that was the year they whooped everybody. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, I just thank my parents that they didn't name me Bebo, so like I've been like, I don't know, Bebo
well,
Snyder.
it was funny because right after that, I had to go to my daughter's 30th birthday party, which was cool because I got her a card and I said, "Happy 30th birthday, love." And then I said, history lesson. I said, I was 30 when you were born.
Wow.
So 30, 30. And then I wrote a bunch of other stuff. And she come up to you, she goes, that is right. You were 30, weren't you? Because I'm 60 right now. And I said, yeah. She goes, that is so weird. I said, yeah. So, um, you know, right
Was
before
that
I,
your same daughter that came on trolling you on the show?
no, that's Bailey. She's the youngest.
Oh, Bailey.
And
Okay.
Austin, uh, right before he's heading over, he called me and he said, can you believe the ass whooping they're putting on him? I said, yeah. And he goes, we really that good this year? I said, oh, yeah, we're good this year, brother. And so uh, it'll be fun next week because we got a big game they're playing Saturday. So Monday will be good. I'll either come in Monday crying or I'm going to be like, yep, they're what I thought they were. So,
Yeah.
but one
Yeah.
loss ain't going to hurt anybody. Matter of fact, I think you'll have teams in the playoffs that could have lost 2 games this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
gonna get spread out a lot more. It's not gonna be so dominating with the teams like happen to go undefeated, and everything.
Yeah, one loss doesn't kill you. Two losses, you're right, getting close to the bubble, depending on who you've played. You know, and
True.
it's like I said, Michigan, they could lose Texas and just lose to Ohio State, and you're looking at two top three teams probably at that point if that happens. Well, Michigan's got to feel good about themselves being in the playoffs if they won every other game.
Who? What are they ranked now? They move up to number three, or
No, are you talking about Texas or Michigan?
Texas? Texas was number four, weren't they?
I don't know. I don't think the new updated rankings come out yet, but Texas is number 4. I know that.
Okay,
And Michigan is number 6. So you're going to
gotcha.
have a 4 and 6 play each other. Alabama's 5, and then Georgia's 1, Ohio State's 2, and Oregon's 3. But I don't think Oregon looked like a 3. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas jumped them. You know,
True.
but the voters are finicky on that stuff. You know, um,
It
when you
depends
look
on
at
the
it,
strength of schedule because they're gonna be looking at CSU's not being as strong of a schedule, but
sure,
I don't
and
know. Oregon played a pretty weak team too.
they played Idaho.
Uh oh, lost you for a second.
Am I back on? There we go. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just popped off for some reason.
yeah.
Um,
That was
but
weird.
when you look at uh, Florida State was number 10 to start the season. You know they're not there anymore. If
True.
they lose to Boston College tonight, they're down 14-3 with 34 seconds and a half left. If they lose to Boston College, they're out. I can just tell you they're out. Um, the one I'm interested in seeing, um, they were 13 to start the season, was LSU. LSU's got some work to do. I mean, they lost to USC, and if they both had 2 losses to start the season and they were both right on the bubble at 12, USC's getting in before LSU, period. So I think it's going to be interesting looking at some of these. How many is going to go from the Big 12? I think they're definitely going to have
True.
one, but if you got a one-loss team there, uh, I think they're going in. And I think the ACC, the only team that's looking good, Clemson's going to have to win out if they lose another. I think they're done.
True.
Miami, I think, gets in, and then you got to look. You got one team uh, that is from the lower ranked conferences that could come in. If they go undefeated, they always have one that they'll put in there, and could be two if you have two good looking teams. So,
Yeah.
if you
How's Auburn doing this year?
Auburn, they won their first game, but they're not ranked right now. I don't think.
Gotcha.
Let me look. I'll check here.
Cause they're in the ACC, right?
Yeah, they're in the ACC. Um,
Cause
Auburn
Auburn
won.
had
I know that, but I don't think people were looking at Auburn like they were going to be really good this year. So let me look. Let's see. Auburn played. That's why I like having this stuff in front of me because I can. Auburn played Alabama A&M and beat them 73-3.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
they played good. I don't know anything about Alabama A&M, but uh, putting up 72 points is pretty good. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Like Auburn always seems to have a pretty solid program every year. It's gonna be interesting to see. They could be up there for that ACC. If they bring down, come down the season, a pretty good record.
Sure, yeah. Just looking at everything, uh, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because what do we got next week? Let me see what's on the agenda here. We already know we have um, Texas and Michigan. Let's see who's a good one that's going to be playing next week. They're going to win. They're going. I I'll tell you a good game next week. I'm looking forward to seeing. But it'll be on during the time. I'll flip back and forth to see how they're doing. Will be Oklahoma State and Arkansas. Let's see who else we got here.
Yeah,
Um,
Arkansas usually has a pretty good program.
yeah, that if they lose to Oklahoma State, I think they're done. Um, let's see who else is in here. That uh, Auburn next week plays California. Didn't
That should be good. Is California even ranked?
California? Didn't they? Them and Stanford, they moved to the ACC.
Yeah.
No, they're not ranked. Neither one of them are ranked. Um, I was looking to see. Miami's going to kick their rear end next week. Let's see. I don't really see. There's got to be a pretty good game. Well, next week you got Tennessee and North Carolina State. Tennessee's number
Ooh.
15. North Carolina
Yeah.
State's 24. Then you got Colorado and Nebraska. I'm sort of interested in that game. And then they'll beat them. Let's see. Really, those are only the really good games next week, in my opinion.
Yeah. How's South Carolina doing?
Uh,
They usually do all right.
I think didn't South Carolina barely win last week? And I
I
think
think so.
they didn't even play anybody. I don't think. Let's look here. South Carolina. Let's see here. I'm
Cause
interested. They played Old Dominion and won 23-19.
oh wow. Cause TCU they're not looking as good as they usually do, right?
TCU played Stanford last week and beat
Okay.
Stanford 34-27. And then this week they play LIU Brooklyn. They're probably going to win that. No problem. So they're
Cause
going to go 2-0.
they were saying that there was like really easy schedules coming up for um, Texas. I think they said
No,
after
Texas,
Michigan. After Michigan, I think Texas has a pretty easy schedule. And
no.
then I can't
Well,
remember who they were saying.
if you look at their schedule, they get two easy ones. They get UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, and Louisiana Monroe. I will actually be at the Louisiana Monroe game. That's it's a night game, and we wanted to go to the night game because they got now where they got the drones that fly up above the stadium and make the Longhorn and all this other stuff. And they say the
Oh,
night
cool.
game is unreal. There's going to be tons of recruits and stuff there. And then after that, they got three pretty good games. They got Mississippi State, then they get a bye, then they play Oklahoma, then Georgia.
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
That's a
Yeah.
tough, but that schedule to me is nothing compared to what Oklahoma's going to have. Oklahoma Oklahoma's going to have a really, really, really hard schedule. I want to pull it up here because when I saw it, I was like, and I remember people talking about it, and I was like, wow, man, that's one hell of a schedule. Let me get the schedule. If you're
I
gonna
can't remember what team it was. Maybe it was Georgia. They were
okay,
saying one of the teams had a really easy schedule.
Georgia's is pretty easy, but the big games they got are away from home, so I think it's going to make it a little tougher on them. Uh,
Gotcha.
when you look at Oklahoma, the first of the season's not too bad. They next week they got Houston, Tulane, then they get Tennessee, and then Auburn, and then they pick up Texas. Okay, now that's pretty hard. And then they get South Carolina, which probably won't be as tough on. But then they get Mississippi. Then they get an easy one, which is Maine. And then they pick up Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. I mean, I can look on there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could see them losing 7 games.
Yeah, no worries, brother. I popped you in on the thing, and it was just I could hear a bunch of noise, so clicked out your audio. But we appreciate you joining. Like I say, I'm just glad you're having difficulties because we just didn't need that many Cowboys fans in here. So,
Yeah, I take that back. There, Michigan is ranked number 9, not number 6. They're number 9.
Okay.
So I was wrong on that.
So all these are going to change, but what's the top 10 ranks? We got number 1 Georgia, number 2
Ohio State,
Ohio State,
number 3 Oregon, number 4 Texas, number 5 Alabama, number 6 Mississippi, number 7 Notre Dame, number 8 Penn State, number 10 number 7 Penn State, number 9 is Michigan, and then they had Florida State, which is going out. So that means Missouri's moving up to 10. And then they got Utah. Then they had LSU. LSU's dropping. Clemson, I don't think will fall too far back just because they lost to Georgia. Then you got Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Miami. Miami's moving up, in my opinion. A&M is going to drop some. So just looking at, but if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the top 6 teams play in the SEC or ACC. So you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll just do the top 10 teams. So that moves Missouri up. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 teams from the SEC and the Big Ten. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got independent Notre Dame.
It's going to be interesting to see how CU competes in that division. Like I mean, it's going to be a tough division for them to, get a playoff spot. But they started off 1-0, so
you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to be playing each other eventually in that top 10. So there's going to be movement in and out. But just start the season, if the games are real close, you're not going to see that much of a drop. In other words, if Georgia comes down and they play Texas, and just say Texas beat them by a touchdown or 3 points, I can tell you right now they're not dropping that far. It just isn't going to happen because they're going to say, well, you had 2 heavyweights play each other and the game was close all the way to the end. You're not going to drop them 5 slots. You may drop them 1 or 2 slots.
True. So I think Notre Dame should move up a little bit, and like I say, that's my team's Notre Dame. Always grew up a Notre Dame fan from like my dad and my brother and stuff. And
well, I'll tell you,
go over and watch
of all the teams out there, Notre Dame this year probably has the easiest schedule of any of them.
Maybe that's what they were talking about. I can't remember. They were talking about one of the teams having a really easy schedule. It might have been Notre Dame and somebody else. It might have been Texas A&M. I don't know.
Well, Notre Dame, they had Texas A&M. Texas A&M ain't that good. Then they got Northern Illinois. I don't think Purdue can beat them. That's their next one. They got Miami, Ohio, Louisville, Stanford. I mean, TCU beat Stanford. Georgia Tech, which looking at what Boston College is doing to Florida State, I'm not sure there they got to think Florida State's that bad. Then you got Navy. Then they get a bye. Then they got Florida State, Virginia, Army. And the only one I see getting them any type of game will be the last one of the year, which is USC. Now, that becomes interesting because if USC beats them and they don't really have anybody on their schedule, is that going to keep them in the playoff? Against teams that play. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, but they have a very weak schedule this year. And I don't think it's so much their fault. I just think some of the teams they're normally playing are not good this year.
True.
So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we appreciate everyone joining, checking out our first show, and just coming in, talking with us. And like I say, Cesar was driving, so he couldn't jump in. But I appreciate guys like Cesar. And like I say, we didn't really need that many Cowboys fans in here anyway. Like we don't need to get stacked up on Cowboys fans. And I am a little disappointed that nobody brought any Cowboys jokes. I wasn't trying to get Cowboys jokes in here, but they're saying that the Cowboys are so bad right now that for $45 he'd go on the field and call 2 plays. So it's pretty good.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, you might call that hook and ladder, college play, and it might end up working out. But but who knows? I'll try to put together some segments for some different things. My final countdown. My final countdown award.
It's just our first inaugural podcast. It was for fun, and as the season gets going, we'll really be breaking down and talking about the teams and getting more in depth. I'll do something on the Longhorns next week, especially if they win. I think the recruiting floodgates are going to open even more if they get that win. And it'll be fun to see. I'm just looking forward to the season. So, and plus we'll have pro football talk next week too.
It's kind of nice to have a little break from all the posts that keep getting made about us on Facebook and stuff about electrical code. We get a little break from it, do a little sports, and if there's any posts on there that you get tagged in, I apologize. It was not intentional. It was just kind of funny that they're really, really in crisis mode now. It's not really going their way.
Well, I'm gonna give you an example. So I had Jeremy argue with me right before I come on. I said, well, I'm done with this conversation for now. I got to go to the podcast. I mean, it was like 10 minutes before, and what's he put? He goes, "Of course you're leaving. You're such a F coward." I mean, it just goes to show you right there. I got somewhere I got to be. I've been trying to get stuff ready and all that, but yet he's going to say something like that. It's just like, it really did.
Well, they did the same thing to me on the podcast on Thursday, because I was sitting there arguing with them and showing them how nothing in the code says what they say, and it was so funny because all the things that they said got rejected, and they're still arguing it. And I just, I don't really have time for this. I'm going over to get ready for the podcast, and I logged out and I came down and got in the Man Cave studio, and next thing you know, we got done with the podcast. I come back and they're like, "Oh, I knew those guys were gonna ghost." It's like, dude, I told you what I was going to do. Or it's not like we're lying. We're live on the air. We're live on YouTube. It's not like, where do you think I'm at? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like hiding behind some keyboard like they say. It's like, I'm right here, dude. Come on the show. Like, they were on the show the whole time trying to argue, and they couldn't come up with a single thing. Like, they actually have this screenshot of Tommy D like, "Oh, no, 210.8F applies." It's like, why didn't you say that live? You know, and And that's the thing that's so funny. Like there's all these comments that we actually are putting up there. Oh, you're stealing other people's material. It's like, no, I'm putting up the exact words what they say. I don't care about their podcast.
No,
Like
they're
I
less.
could care. Yeah, I'm not trying to steal anybody's material.
But you see that
Um,
one Jeffrey Bauer sent to me. I told Jeremy, I said, well, I'm not arguing anymore. I said I go to my daughter's 30th birthday party. He comes on next day. He goes, "You never said that. You're nothing but a liar. Blah blah blah. You didn't say you're going." And then I just took a screenshot, post there, silence. I was
yeah.
like,
Well, it's
you
just
know,
like on the podcast, they're always sitting there. Oh, well, your AHJ's a moron, and then we're like, okay, well, whatever, dude. Just go constantly call people names. I never called anybody a moron. You just did 20 seconds ago.
there it is.
It's like, I just it
Oh
just
well,
blows me away. We get a little break from that, and we'll argue sports a little bit, and like I say, I'll probably be in the same boat. Like Broncos have a pretty good matchup, so we got the Seahawks, and Seahawks I think are ranked top 10 power rankings, so
yeah. I
they should
hadn't
be a
checked any of the power ratings for pro football. I've been mainly in my college football mode here lately.
yeah. And if you want to do that, if you wanted me to cover the
Yeah,
pro side, and you cover college, I'd be
I
cool with
love the
that. And
college, especially this year with the 12-team playoff. I'm excited about it. So I
nice.
think it'd be awesome.
Um, but yeah, the Seahawks are one of those teams I think could be a sleeper team this season to kind of get in there. Like I say, top 10 power ranking. That's who we're going up against, and we're on the road, so that's gonna be. I think we're on the road. I'll have to check. I thought we were in Seattle, but which they have their 12th man stadium. It'd be really hard for us to win up there, but
Oh yeah,
I'll have to see. And who knows? Maybe James will be crying. I'll try to see if I get my brother. See if he could come. Like I think my brother could actually like fill the whole entire screen with Michigan. Uh, like he'll have a Michigan towel over here and a Michigan shirt on, and his daughter will be behind him with a Michigan beanie and a Michigan sweatshirt, and he could probably fill the whole entire screen with Michigan stuff. So we'll
it'd be
see.
fun. We're just gonna have a good time and just anybody that wants to come on, just let us know. We'll have a good time. Talk about your team. Hell, I'm all for you coming in, pumping up your team. I personally love it. So
Yeah, big shout out to Adam. Thanks, Adam, for Team SOS. He posted up the link up on his Patreon, so um, you need to go or his Discord, not Patreon, Discord.
okay,
So Adam's over there on Discord, and so like anytime you guys are wanting to jump on, we're gonna have the link posted over there, Team SOS Discord. So you could always get in that way. And like I say, Cameron, more than welcome to join us, dude. You know what Cameron says his team is too? He's a Cowboys fan too. I'm like, really? So I was like, oh no, you can't come on, Cameron. But it's pretty funny, and like I say, we've had Cameron on before, so we really appreciate people that follow our show and stuff. And like I say, I don't know, might have a really good easy Willie quiz this week. I'll be working on that on Wednesday, and
something that'd be pretty good if you have time is have some type of football quiz.
hmm, all right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. I
And if we're
might, I
doing
might,
something, hockey season starting, you can do a hockey one. You can do a
yeah,
basketball one once it kicks off, or one for the Major League Baseball playoffs. Is be
oh yeah,
uh,
oh yeah.
just something extra to it.
Oh, dude, that was fun when we did the hockey, the Game 7. It was right
Hmm.
after Game 7.
That's what
And
I'm
it was pretty
saying.
cool.
You can just have all
Big,
kinds of stuff like that on here. Everybody come on and have a good
yeah.
time.
Big shout out to Danny T, too, because Danny T had me on as a guest on his Stanley Cup Game 7 show. And, dude, it was awesome, man. We hit 666 likes.
Yeah,
If that isn't a hook 'em horns moment right there.
and I'll get a little thing put on here where I got an overlay as we're doing this, for people to subscribe, share, and like, and all that stuff. And as we're doing this, this will be over on the YouTube site, the Stock Electrical Education site. I've already created the playlist for it and everything. So we're just trying to keep everything together, so we're not going back and forth to all these different sites. And
True.
I'll have it on there. So if you just want to go on there and watch our football episodes, you can go on there and pick it up there too.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Awesome.
fun. And I think as we spend this next year just going over all we'll get, one of the things I want to do, if we can set it up, is every year will we go in and do the draft, and it's something that goes all year and off season. Any information come up, we're just talking about it and everything about their favorite teams, and somebody wants to do some of the Cowboy stuff. I'll back off, let them do it. I'll have mainly do all the Longhorn stuff because I really know it well. So
True.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, and like I say, just please do not look at my post. It might have said something about Cowboys jokes. I did not mean to post that as a thumbnail. It just came up. It just randomly came up like that. So, like I say, I wasn't trying to get people in here intentionally to say a bunch of Dallas Cowboy jokes. So
No worries.
just so you know,
at all.
like is Dak Prescott, is he still starting QB?
As far as I know, I hadn't kept up with them that much.
All right.
I know they just re-signed CD Lamb. They come up in my Facebook feeds and stuff like that, but I don't really keep up with it like I should. I mainly, when I'm driving around and stuff, going places, I keep up mainly with the Longhorns. So
Yeah, they had one time Dak Prescott was asking Santa. Santa was like, what do you want for Christmas, Dak? And he says, oh, I want a dragon. And then Santa's like, oh, come on, Dak, be more realistic than that. And he goes, oh, okay, I want a playoff win. And he goes, all right, what color dragon?
All right, let's wrap her up.
Yeah, awesome.
Good.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Mr. E, Electrical Wizardry. Thanks for popping in, checking out our stream. Thanks, Cesar Blanco, jumping in. Appreciate it. And thanks, everyone, for joining us for Monday Morning Coach.
Amen. We'll see y'all next Monday. All right.
Yep.
Have a good weekend. Enjoy football this week.
And remember, make every day an easy day.
Amen. Look 'em on.